Welcome, everybody, to the podcast. Back for another week of interviews. This week, we are joined by Derek Syme, who is, we met at school and is actually our first international guest. Derek is coming and joining us from the great land of Canada. Welcome to the podcast, Derek.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on your show.
Oh, this is gonna be fun. So
it's gonna be fun.
Jake and I both met Derek once again at LaTourneau University. He's a few years ahead of us. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, Derek, but he studied electrical engineering for his undergraduate, did very well, I'm sure, and then actually pursued a master's degree in electrical engineering at LaTourneau University as well. And then after graduation, he has moved on to become a fescue grass and grain farmer up in Canada. Is that all correct, Derek?
That's pretty much correct.
It's an interesting career path, and we're excited to learn more about it.
Well, first off, Derek, what I want to know is how did you hear about LaTourneau University in Longview, Texas, when you grew up in Canada?
Yeah, it's a long ways away from home. I had a sister that went to Bible school in Texas, in San Antonio, and she ended up marrying the director's son who went to LaTourneau, and that's how I got connected with LaTourneau there. I went and visited while he was there. I had another sister that actually went there too, so yeah, kind of family connections. I liked the school. It's a good school. Engineering is interested in, so that's where I went. Yeah,
makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Did you always want to do electrical engineering? How did you get plugged into that?
I always wanted to be an inventor. It's interesting because
isn't that what they tell you not to do on the first day of engineering school?
The first day of what was that? Dr. French's intro to engineering class.
I didn't really like it.
Is not inventing, and I was like, well, maybe I'm in the wrong place.
And then you stuck it out for 6 more years.
I did. Almost every year I asked my parents, is this a bad idea if I just go farming after and I get a degree and then just go farming? They're like, no, you won't regret it. It'll be good. You'll have the degree. And,
okay.
I don't regret it. It's good. It's good to have the schooling, and I still think I can use it, and so yeah. And I wasn't planning on getting the master's either, but that just kind of happened. Dr. Kim had some scholarships going on, and so I got a scholarship to do the master's thing, so I took it. It was the opportunity.
Yeah. That's a good gig, the old scholarship for master's degree. What was your thesis on?
Let's see if I can remember the title. It was implementation of computer vision using for train automation using convolutional neural networks.
Oh yeah, that last I always remember. I understood most of it, and then the important part right at the end, I was like, "Yeah, I don't know what that means."
I was going to say, Eric, I feel like you should just expand a little bit on that for our audience. Who's probably not as well educated as you.
Well, it's kind of a mouthful of big words that I feel like that's how they make thesis titles. Is they just take the biggest words of what you're working on and put them together in a sentence. Anyways. It's basically one of my professors had this problem. They were trying to automate trains, and he had an idea that they could use computer vision to help the navigation of trains with just like track maintenance and looking at different things on the tracks. And so one of the basic problems you have to start with is finding the tracks in the image on the front of the train. So if they put cameras on the train, one of the first things the train has to do is be able to know where the tracks are, not to stay on them, but just like for the next problems that you can encounter, like measuring track gauge or measuring train speed or something like that. So I worked on the first problem, that was finding the tracks in the image, and used a couple different methods to do that. One of which was convolutional neural networks, which is a method of machine learning with the visual applications.
So in that, does that mean you fed like your program a bunch of pictures of train tracks and saw if it identified it well, and then said good job if it did,
Exactly.
bad job if it didn't? Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
So they were planning on implementing basically cameras on trains so that it could predict like the next train path that it needed to go on.
Yeah, there's a few different things that they could build off of that. One was for maintenance, for looking at like track movement, like places they have earthquakes and landslides and different, like where the earth will actually move, and they can measure the track gauge and track wobble, whatever, for maintenance purposes. Another one is obstacles on the tracks. There's a few different directions they wanted to go after, but one of the basic starting points was just
See the tracks.
finding the tracks accurately.
Okay. How far out could your model see train tracks?
It could see it almost as well as a human could see it, almost as far out.
Okay, so a long ways.
Yeah, that was the convolutional neural network method. The other method, it wouldn't go as far. So, and that was part of my thesis, was kind of just showing how much more advanced the neural network method can get.
How long was your total thesis, page wise?
I think it had about 80 to 85 pages of main document, and then probably like twice that of appendices.
You know,
Okay.
I just don't. I guess I'm just not smart enough or cut out for grad school because I don't understand the appendices thing. Everybody's like, yeah, my main document is only like 20 pages, but then I double that in appendices. If the appendices are so long and so important, why aren't they in the main document? Like, it seems like the meat of the research is in the appendices. It's just a little bone to pick with academia. It's not just you,
code. A lot of it was code, and it takes up a lot of space.
That's fair. That's fair.
One of the things was a side project that was kind of included as a learning, like to get me as a step to get me to where I needed to. It was kind of a learning project that I did on the way to completing the train project.
Was
and
that
so
the
I included that? Oh yeah, you were part of that. You got some training data. That was for that hand sign language recognition.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a
listeners-
pretty cool project.
Oh yeah, so cool. For the listeners at home, Jake and I were at school when Derek programmed this in his little camera, and you just put like held one finger up for 1, 2 fingers up for 2 or whatever, and then it displayed the number. But it was very very good at it. I was very surprised at how hard it was to trick the machine, and so it was a very cool project for sure. So Derek, after grad school, you graduated. This is kind of where you graduated graduate school the same year Jake and I graduated our undergraduate degrees, and then you moved up to Canada and you started farming. Take me through that the whole enchilada. How did you go from master's in electrical engineering to farming? Did you you kind of hinted that your parents or you knew this was going to happen during school? So was that kind of always the plan?
I actually started. Farming obviously happens mostly in the summer. So I had actually started long before I graduated, helping my grandparents in the summer between years of school. So yeah, I had already been doing that, and we had been talking about, how I could a farm transfer, taking over my grandparents' farm, and we're actually still talking about that. Nothing. It's still in the works. But yeah, that kind of been in play already for a while before I graduated. So that wasn't like a new thing. And I guess my interest had always wanted to be like a farmer inventor kind of person. So the electrical engineering, I think that stemmed from I always took stuff apart when I was younger. Like fax machines and printers that were thrown out. I'd take them apart and be like, what's this? And so I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn how this stuff worked, how electricity worked, and I got interested in programming and stuff too. So yeah, it was that's why I went to school, learn how things work, and it was interesting.
Yeah, it's funny. That's pretty much the same thing I did, except I'd take a fax machine or a vacuum or whatever apart, and I'd just like take the circuit board and just immediately throw it away. I was just like, this is irrelevant.
This is useless. Yeah.
Well, what are the mechanical things that make this work? So you and we could have doubled our things to look at, because I imagine. Well, I guess you probably looked at both.
Parts,
but,
man.
Yeah, I was like, this is irrelevant, is it not? And just threw it away. This is magic. Nobody can. Like,
magical electricity.
I couldn't possibly understand how this part works, and I was right. Went through college, still have no idea how it works.
Didn't you do the electrical on your senior design team?
Well, I did a little bit.
It was
of
a combined effort.
Cold, but yes.
You guys did good with that.
Yeah, Cole and I, we did a little bit of the biomed, mechanical, electrical, computer. We kind of did a little bit of everything.
Like senior design is supposed to be a well-rounded project. Ours was a well-rounded project, just not comprised of a well-rounded team. It was simply Jake and I.
It was well-rounded for two people.
Yeah,
there was 3.5. We won't name names, but the third person knows who she is.
That's terrible. Oh goodness.
It'll be okay.
So Derek, how big is this farm you're currently operating? How many acres?
They have 3 half sections, which is almost 1,000 acres, except not all of them are farmed. Like some of it's forest and some of it's swamp. So I think there's maybe 700 to 800 acres that's farmed.
That's so much.
That's a pretty small farm for up here, actually. It's not big.
I was gonna say I kind of felt like that might be on the smaller side.
Like the big farms around here would be like anywhere from 3,000 and up, probably.
Still 800 acres. That's a lot of land.
Well, I mean, it's just you though, right? Like I couldn't take care of 800 acres. I couldn't take care of 80.
Well, my grandparents actually still do a lot of work. They're
okay.
He's gonna be 81 in a month.
Okay.
And he still works just as hard as I do. I try to take some of the nasty jobs from him. He's in there like shoveling grain around and stuff, and I'm like, Grandpa, take it easy. Let me do
that. Yeah, nothing makes you feel bad. Like being in the prime of your life, 25 or whatever, and your 81-year-old granddad shoveling grain for you.
Outworking me. Yeah.
That's cool.
Wow. It's good. It keeps them healthy, but
what portions are you said, or I think you might have mentioned to us before we were recording that you do mainly fescue grass, but kind of is that like most of the acreage is all fescue grass, or is it pretty well distributed between all the grains and stuff you grow?
It kind of changes year to year. The fescue is actually it's actually kind of it's a 3-year rotation. So when you grow the first year, not enough grass grows to actually harvest anything. And then the second year you get a good harvest. The third year you get a good harvest. And then after that it gets too tight. It like kind of turns into lawn and it doesn't produce seed. So then you plow it upside down, plow it over, and you start again.
So you have to.
So it's kind of on a 3-year rotation. The fescue is, and what you can do is in the first year is put another crop in, and get a crop off in between. And so he'll put in like oats or barley or peas or something as it's called a cover crop.
So the you plant them in the same field is what you're saying?
Yeah.
So like the fescue's growing and then the beans are just popping out, or the peas or whatever are just popping out at the same time?
Yeah. So the fescue, it's when it's in the first year and it's pretty small. It's just like, you have a fresh lawn and your grass is just starting to grow. And it won't grow as much when there's another crop in there, but it'll get a good start, and then the next year it'll come better. So.
Okay.
So after that third year where you plow it under, do you restart with fescue again, or do you rotate crops and like put in another type of grass or plant peas for a couple years or oats, or do you just go right back to fescue again?
You can go right back to fescue, or you can do another crop in between. Fescue actually does pretty well going continuous, but you can do like peas or something that puts nitrogen in, and that helps the crops in future years.
Okay,
that's awesome.
What is your I guess what's your breakdown of, like, so you said you had roughly 800 acres. How much of it are you doing in different fescue grass or timothy versus like grains like oats, barley, wheat, or anything like that?
Yeah, it might be. It's probably 2/3 fescue.
Okay.
And this year actually the rest is just summer fallow, because it was too wet this spring to get any seed in, and Grandma and Grandpa said it's been about 30 years since it's been this wet, since it's been too wet to get seed in the ground. So it was it's quite a wet year. Yeah.
That's what I don't understand about farming. I don't know how y'all do it. Like, it's like, oh, rained too much this year. Well, last year it didn't rain enough. Well, it's too much this year. And then next year it could be not enough. Seems just terrible. It's just like it's always too much, not enough.
Yeah, you're really at the mercy of the weather.
Well, I was going to say, Derek, do y'all have any irrigation up there, or is it strictly mercy of the weather?
Yeah, no irrigation, just at the mercy of the weather.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So, oh wow, that's just crazy. So you just left what was in the ground from last year then with all the fescue, and then were you able to harvest it this fall?
So the fescue, that what was in crop already as far as fescue, that it did really well because it had lots of water and we didn't have to get on the field to do anything with it. So that did really well this year. We were able to. Fescue is harvested fairly early in the season, so that's what we've harvested that already. I guess that would be 2 weeks ago, and yeah, everything else. There's nothing else to harvest because we didn't get anything planted. So yeah, and last year it was actually too wet in the fall to get all the harvest off, and then sometimes you can get the harvest off in the spring after it'll just freeze in the winter, and then get it off in the spring when it thaws out. But it's too wet this spring to get it off, and too wet to get seed in the ground. So it's pretty much a pretty big loss 2 years in a row.
What do you once you have the fescue? Like, you don't do sod, so you have all this fescue seed. What do you do? Like, sell it to golf courses, or who buys fescue these days?
Well, we wouldn't sell it directly to golf courses. We sell it to, I don't know what you call them, distributors or third party, I guess. And because they have to clean the seed first. So, like, we sell it to the seed plant and they clean the seed and then sell it to whoever else after that.
All right, Derek. If you, I'm thinking back. So you said 800 acres, and 2/3 was in Fescue. So what was that? 600? Is my math good?
Sure.
I don't think so. I think that would be 3/4. But
oh yeah,
okay.
Wow, we are struggling tonight.
It's an approximation.
I'd say 530 is a little better number.
There we go, Cole. Thank you for that. 530 acres of fescue. Is this measured in bushels? How many bushels of seed do you got from that?
So with the grains like oats and barley, it's measured in bushels. With fescue or grass seeds, it's measured in pounds.
Okay.
So usually plant like 2 to 3 pounds an acre. And, you can harvest. Well, we had pretty good harvest this year, and some of the places were 800 to 1,000 pounds an acre.
Wow. That is
really good.
That is a good return.
Yeah.
Sweet niblets right there. Do you keep your seed and reuse it, or do you buy seed every year?
We'll keep some. It also depends. Like, you can, if you want to do like a registered seed or something, then you would have to buy that specifically and plant it and harvest it. But we just stick with the generic. And replant some of it.
Huh.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So you guys,
800 pounds an acre. That seems pretty good. So how much is a pound of fescue grass worth? Or fescue grass seed?
It can vary. A couple of years ago, it was worth $1 a pound, or a little over. I think it was this spring. It was at 70 cents, and now it's at like 55 or 60. So it can really vary.
It's just nobody planted fescue, or everybody had a good harvest.
You got to play those grain futures.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What?
Wait, so
I'm not a farmer. I guess I'm a city boy from a town of 200, and I don't know what the hell anybody's talking about.
wait. I'm trying to do some math here quick. All right, so what we said, 530 acres at 800 pounds an acre at roughly 55 cents. That's $233,200.
But I mean, that'd be generous, right? Because you said some of the good ones were 800 to 1,000.
Right. Yeah, we had there was one field that was that wasn't near as good, and there's patches that aren't as good either.
So all right, Derek, this brings up another question. So what you said 2 years ago, it was at $1 a pound. Do you have storage bins where you're storing for a couple years to wait till the grain or the price goes back up and then dump all that on the market? How long does fescue grass seed last?
Well, Grandpa doesn't like keeping it more than a year.
A year?
He sold some of his, and that's really all he has bin space for.
Okay, for a year.
I don't know how long the germination lasts. I think it would be good for a few years, but really, the bin space would be a definite restriction.
Also, these bins, do you have to dry the seed at all? Like when you harvest it, there's some moisture variable, and that you have to dry it out, or is it good to go?
It depends on the weather.
All right.
Like
What the heck, man?
Like this year, last year we got quite a bit of wet stuff, and
Yeah.
a lot of people have grain dryers that they put it through. We don't, and so it's really good to get it off dry. We got some off a little wet, and we have aeration in some of the bins, so like just a fan blowing through the bin.
Right.
That kind of helps to dry it out, or at least keep it from spoiling. But it can only do so much. Some people will harvest it pretty wet and then
Just
put
dry
through
it.
the dryer. But that's a big expense too, because you burn
Yeah.
a lot of fuel doing that. So the best is if you can get some nice hot dry weather and harvest it during that and take it off dry.
How long do you have a pretty big window to harvest it, or is it kind of?
This year it was, it just depends on the weather. Like we
You gotta
got
watch
it
the
in,
clouds, Cole.
You know,
I would be a bad farmer.
It only took maybe a week to get it all combined, but like if you get a day of rain, then you've got to wait for 3 or 4 days for it to dry out again. And the more rain and dry cycles it gets, the quality can go down.
You got somebody out there testing your fescue seed. Make sure it's that high quality fescue seed. Grow the good grass.
Wait. So Derek, you said you could store, or I guess what is your bin capacity size? How much can you store?
Well, there's enough storage for a year's worth of one season's worth of seed.
Okay.
Basically.
All right.
Yeah.
Huh. And so what's it like to be a farmer, man? You just you get up, you look at the clouds and hope it's raining or hope it's not raining, and then
it's kind of for grain farming. I kind of include the grass. Up here, there's kind of two types of farming. You're either grain farming, which kind of includes the grass seeds as well, or you're ranching, which is cattle, and that's a different sport entirely. For this grain farming thing, it's a fair weather sport. So you really, if you wake up in the morning and it's raining, you just roll back over and go to sleep. But when the weather's good, you work from all day and more. Sometimes all night too, if the weather's is good. So you just go hard while the weather's good, and if it's not, you do something else. There's always lots to do though. There's always lots of maintenance. There's always a piece of equipment breaking down. So if there's not something broken down, then you do preventative maintenance and you get things greased up and ready to go for the next time it's got to get on the field. Because when the weather turns right, you want the piece of equipment to work. You don't want it breaking down. Because sometimes you only got a certain window to work in. So, there's always lots to do, buildings to fix up, which I enjoy. I enjoy doing a wide variety of things, and especially in the summertime, working outside when the weather's nice. Enjoy that. So to get the, I guess that's what I like about.
Uh-oh, we lost him.
Did we lose Derek?
It's not good. Derek.
And he's back.
Not sure what happened.
It's okay. Technical difficulties. If we'll blame COVID. We'll say we would have flown you out and interviewed you if the COVID wasn't a thing. But in reality, we don't have the budget.
And
got our internet connection.
Yeah, we can blame that.
yeah. So Derek, or Cole, what were we talking about right before he dropped off?
Yeah, what was the last thing?
You were talking about how there's always something to do on the farm, and then I think you pretty much ended right there.
Oh, well, all right, Derek. Then I wanted to ask you about crop insurance.
Crop insurance.
Do you have crop insurance? Do we play those games at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's crop insurance. My grandparents have always used it. It's kind of the lower risk route to take.
Right.
Kind of covers your costs if you don't get a harvest off like last year.
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I guess I was just wondering, is that do you buy that from a third party, or is that kind of government funded sort of thing through the Canadian government? How do you know how that works?
Not entirely. I think it's third party as far
Okay.
as I know. But yeah, I don't know a lot about that stuff. I'm really not big on the number crunching financial side. I mean, I'll do it, and I'm just not that into that part, that side of things. But
Eric or Derek, I felt like that was the electrical engineering side.
No. That's no. Financial number crunching is not my.
It's not no
favorite. No.
Yes.
All right.
Like growing the grass. Something I wanted to ask you about / talk about is what kind of equipment do you guys have on the farm? Do you have everything you need? Do you ever have to do you rent stuff during harvest or planting planting time?
Yeah, it's interesting where the farm is it's fairly remote, I guess, from a lot of. It's not near any major centers, so it's hard to rent stuff. Like where I grew up, there's a little more availability of equipment and larger centers, so you could rent stuff a little easier. It's a different culture where my grandparents' farm is. It's you end up relying a lot on the community. So when your piece of equipment breaks down and you really need another one, your neighbor comes over with his and gets the job done. And that's kind of how it works. The neighbors really work with each other to make it happen. And if you don't have the right parts for your piece of equipment, maybe you check around with the neighbors. Maybe they have something that fits. But yeah, cool. Most of the equipment, we pretty much have everything that we need for each operation.
All right, who's your go-to? You New Holland, John Deere, Case, John Deere. Okay,
boy.
Right.
God bless you.
We won't hold it against you.
Don't say that, Jake. John Deere's the gold standard. Everybody knows it.
Okay.
Nothing runs like a deer. Jeez.
Runs like a deer.
Yeah, they say that, but it seems like they break down a lot.
There's some other equipment that's quality. Yeah.
Would you like to name names, Derek?
Well, if you're going with a swather or something, might not have a John Deere. Maybe a Heston or New Holland.
Okay.
But yeah, it depends on the piece of equipment, probably.
How much?
All right.
How many pieces of equipment do you have to have? I mean, I guess I'm the novice in the farm conversation here, and so like, know what a combine is, know what a silo is. I don't know what else you would need as a farmer. Sort of regular tractor with a bucket on it, or what else do you have?
Yeah, it's interesting because a lot of the pieces of equipment get used once a year, and you have to have them to make it happen. And it's hard. Like you can't rent or share combines between neighbors because everyone needs them at the same time of year.
Yeah.
The same couple weeks or whatever, So, yeah, you gotta have the equipment. You gotta keep them up to shape, or keep them, ready to go. And they get used a couple times a year, maybe. So that's tough. There's a lot of equipment maintenance and cost with that. There is, how many pieces of equipment? I don't know how to answer that question. There's significant cultivation.
Like 20? Like 20 different tractor or 20 different
Like
drivable machines?
Like we have 4 different tractors, and there's maybe 5 or 6 cultivation implements. There's combine, swather.
Wait, so what was that last one? You said a swather? Yeah, what is that?
That cuts the crop down and puts it in the row.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, I've seen pictures of that happening. Do you have a lot of like pull behind tractor equipment, like a lot of attachments for the same tractor?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then you need different size tractors depending on what you're pulling, what you're running.
Oh goodness, Derek, you are a better man than I. I would just give up. Just be like, I'd pretend it was raining every day, just roll over in bed until I got depressed and passed
Cole,
in the night.
You got to think, a plow, the planter, all the stuff you're pulling behind. Do you fertilize? Do you have to fertilize the fescue grass at all? Yeah. What type of fertilizer are we using?
Mostly nitrogen.
Mostly? Okay.
On the fescue. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're doing other crops, you might add in some other stuff like phosphorus.
Okay, gotcha.
But the fescue needs mostly nitrogen. And so you can either mostly broadcast it, and you can do that spring or fall. So it gets spread across the top.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask to explain the broadcast. You don't inject right into the ground. Right, okay.
Because the fescue gets left in the ground. If you're seeding a crop, you might inject it with the seed.
Okay.
But if the fescue, gets left in the ground year to year, then you just spread the fescue, or spread the fertilizer over top.
Gotcha.
The other thing I want... Cow manure, everybody. Just poop. What were you going to say, Jake?
I was going to ask... shoot, I lost my train of thought. Oh, parasites or bugs or anything. What attacks fescue?
There's like what's the name? There's like a thing called silver tip that we've gotten a couple times, and it kind of makes the fescue not grow seed as well, and like you can kind of see the plant doesn't look as healthy.
So is this a like a fungus in the ground, or is this a insect?
I'm not actually sure what causes that.
Okay.
It may be. I think it's like either fungus or a parasite. I don't think it's an insect.
Gotcha.
But, grasshoppers are a thing. They're pretty hard on a lot of crops.
Mm-hmm. So you spray in with any repellent?
You can, yeah.
Okay.
And that just depends, I guess, how bad they are. If it's worth it to spend the extra on some insecticide or not.
Okay.
That's
You always got to spray the weeds. There's always weeds that come. So
that's When I worked on a farm for a brief stint in my early age, there was always some sort of vine that would grow up and, pull all the corn down, and you had to make sure you sprayed that. And I don't miss my farming days, Eric. Or Derek. I don't know why I keep saying that. Cole's got me messed up.
Blame me.
Yeah. It's my farming days. I'm kind of glad I'm past them, but I'm glad you're enjoying this.
No, I think it's great. Somebody's got a farm.
I like the variety. That's involved. You get to do the planning, the management, the hands-on repairs, the equipment operating. Get to do some welding now and then.
Yeah.
Woodworking. You get it all in.
Yeah, you do. The part that would be so hard for me with a farm is there's always something to do, but really never anything that has to be done right then. Like equipment maintenance, like, well, could just sleep today and do that tomorrow. But then at some point it does need to get done, and it would just never get done. If I was in charge, I would not do well with that.
It can easily pile up, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, do you lease any of your ground, or do you lease from any other people to expand your area, or is your acreage pretty much set at all?
It's kind of set where it is now.
Okay.
In the past, there's been Grandpa's had other land that he's rented and worked, but right now it's just kind of we have the equipment and acreage kind of at a pretty good spot, but that's not to say it wouldn't be expanded in the future or anything. So
okay. Derek's thinking about starting the empire.
The Sime Industries grass farm. Are you gonna come up with like a? I feel like you're kind of slow playing it, and then someday, or right now, you already created a genetically superior fescue grass. You're gonna patent it and call it the Sime variety, and then you're gonna sell it to everybody. And you're just gonna have
there's actually
hundreds of thousands of acres.
Not quite. I don't know. I'm not.
Not into the genetics.
I'd be more likely to invent a piece of equipment that'll do something different. But
you getting your self-automated tractor,
plow
the field for you, plant it for you. Your combine goes automatically GPS around the field.
I could be one of those kind of farmers.
You're getting pretty close.
I know. You get into some of those tractor cabs now, and you're like, this is some future tech in here.
We just can't afford that stuff, so we got pretty old equipment.
Yeah. That's okay. Seems every farm I've been on I've been on the older equipment side as well.
One of the tractors we are still using, it's been running for like 40 years, 45 years.
Yes.
It's done a long
seasoned. How many hours are on it? Does it even have a meter?
Oh, I don't know. It's got a lot. Anyway.
That's awesome. That's so cool to. I mean, there are definitely things that are sweet about being a farmer, like getting to work with your family, like it's a family farm. I mean, that's kind of the dream, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody's like, I mean, I feel like everybody a little bit has that little. At least where I'm from, like has a little bit of like, well, if I could, I could work the land, and we'd have a family farm, and it'd be awesome. We could get mad about the rain. There is something kind of nostalgic to it, I think, that is attractive, but it is difficult.
It's part of the lifestyle, I guess. It's not just it's not just a career; it's a lifestyle as well. It's kind of rolled up into one.
So do you? I don't know where I was going with that.
I was going to ask about your. So you said this was kind of your granddad's farm. Was this on your, I guess, mom's side or dad's side?
My mom's side.
Your mom's side? Okay, gotcha. Did so on your, I guess on your dad's side, like when I kind of going back to like when you were growing up, were they pushing your education, like for you to go to school and get the degree, or I guess.
Yeah, no, not really. I mean, they were kind of supportive in whatever I wanted to do, which
okay.
So yeah, I don't know. They weren't really, I guess, pushing one direction or the other. But yeah, you mean like with reference to when I was wondering if I should quit school.
Right. I didn't know if they were like, oh, well, maybe the farming thing's not going to work out.
No, they weren't pushy with that at all.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah. No,
my parents would have been.
No, you're getting an education. No.
So
they were pretty good about that.
I guess, Derek, what do you see future-wise for the farm, for yourself? Where do you see it going? What are your plans for the future?
Well, it's I think really the optimal career path for me to take. With farming, you kind of almost need another job or career to sideline. For the winter is for one thing, and then also the income is not that great with the farm. So you have to have another supporting income. And so what I would really want to do is use my engineering degree and support that, use it as the side income to help support the farm as well. How that would look and how it would work is still yet to play out, because engineering is a pretty involved career as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty hard to make that a side job. You know, there's lots of people that farm around here that they'll have like trucking as a side job, or construction, or a trade or something.
Something that's can also fluctuate, whereas engineering's kind of 40 hours a week all year round, not just when it's not farming time.
So that's kind of the challenge I'm running into right now, working that out. But.
Yeah, I mean, it's very likely, I would say, that there's a lot more remote opportunities, which I'm sure would be helpful as companies have kind of adopted this work from home recently.
Yeah,
I think there's a good chance.
Banking on COVID to help me out.
COVID could be all good for you. The COVID didn't really. I mean, grass still grows even if it's COVID season.
Oh, it didn't affect the farming a bit. No.
Gotcha.
That's good. Good old farmers weren't wearing the masks in the harvest or in the combines this year.
We need them for the dust.
Yeah, they were always wearing the mask. So, Derek, I forgot to ask you. So after you harvest the seed for the fescue, do you use the rest just as hay? Do you bale that, or do you silage it, or?
That's a good question. Yep. Some people use the chopper on the combine to just chop it up and spread it on the field.
Yeah.
Because it actually helps to work it into the ground and have it break down, and it's good for the soil. But you can also bale it up, and that's what we did this year.
Okay.
We baled it up, and you can sell it for it makes fairly good horse hay.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Are these
Pull it up and sell it.
Are these the small square bales, the large square bales, or the
They're round bales.
They're round bales. Okay.
Big
All right.
round ones. Okay.
Roll them up.
Okay. How many bales did we produce?
It's a good question. I don't know how many we got. There was probably maybe two bales to the acre.
2 per acre. All right.
It's like 1,000
That's,
bales. 1,000 bales of fescue. Hey, that's a lot of bales.
How much does the hay sell for?
Normal. You could $40 a bale maybe.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Also with the harvesting, so again, I'm the farming novice, but you're using the combine to take seed out, and then does that go into like a semi truck and trailer, or where do you how do you transport the seed from the field to the silo or wherever you're storing it?
Yeah, there's more equipment. We have two box trucks that we fill up and run back and forth with from the field to the bins, and then there's also a semi trailer that we have for hauling it as well, and that one's usually used for hauling it to the seed cleaners to market it. So.
And so all harvesting's a 2-man operation then, right? Somebody's got to be running the combine, somebody's got to run the box truck. Okay.
At least a 2-man operation.
Oh, okay. So if I'm ever invited to Canada in harvest season, it's probably safe to say we wouldn't be relaxing.
No, we'd be working.
Yeah. I'll be.
That's when they would bring out that small square baler and just make you stack hay bales.
We've got a pitchfork. You can pile it up by hand. Yeah.
I'd be good at that. I'm good
Even
at useless
better.
jobs.
All right, Derek, tell us one of your freak farming accidents. I'm telling you, every farmer I've met has a good freak farming accident. Well, one time the baler nearly sucked me in, but I was able to shut it off quick enough. You know, you got any one of those?
Oh, they should be right off the top of my head, but they're not coming. That's probably fortunate for me. My grandpa had a tractor burn down this spring.
Oh,
that sucks.
Yeah, that's not good.
So that was unfortunate. He just bought a replacement one this week.
Do you know what caused the fire?
It was electrical. A battery cable rubbed through. So,
Derek, aren't you supposed to be an electrical engineer?
No comment.
What Derek didn't want to say is at school they don't actually teach you anything practical. Derek probably knew that from his farming years, but his electrical engineering degree had nothing to do.
It's entirely different.
It's completely different. Like, oh no, that's practical. I wasn't taught that.
Basically, anything practical you are not taught in school.
Tell you how to find them train tracks with a computer, though.
That tractor, it could find train tracks. It just burnt down.
No, that's a bummer. That is an unforeseeable accident, to be honest. I think it's probably time for our typical question. Jake, do you have any more questions? Or?
No, that was all. I didn't want to. I was thinking about how many bales per acre. My normal farming stats. Bushels per acre, bales per acre, anything per acre. You got to get all those out.
Okay, I'll throw them around at work this week. Oh yeah, no, guys, he gets 800 acres. He only farms about 530. He's getting 800 pounds an acre. Fescue, seed grass.
Don't worry, that's only 1,000 bales. No big deal.
Yeah, no big deal.
I have a neighbor that's he's planning on getting around like 2,500 bales just to feed his cows that he has over the winter.
Wow.
Yes.
In Canada, they're burning them calories, not dying because it's cold.
Yes, sir.
Good night. Wow.
Wow. So, Derek, something we like to ask our guests, and we would obviously like to ask you, is if you feel like there's something that maybe could have got you to where you're at a little bit sooner, or something that you feel like you weren't told. The title of our podcast is What No One Told Us, because we feel like we weren't necessarily given all the information or some of the more critical information to get us kind of where we want to be. And so we like to ask our guests if there's something they feel like they weren't told that they wish they were, maybe in their younger years, in high school or college age.
Right. Well, I think I don't know what high school's like down there, but
Useless.
That's a good way to start it, Derek.
We have a public education system here in Canada that's pretty useless. I mean, I was homeschooled for most of it, but then went to the high school, but the public school in high school, and what can you expect when the government educates you? But we didn't learn anything about money management or taxes or the stuff that everyone has to know for their adult life.
The important things. Yeah.
Yep.
So I mean that would always be that's always a good one. If you can learn money management, time management, communication.
Mm-hmm.
Communication's good in any field you go into. Maybe not the fescue field, but almost any other field. Yeah, those are the key ones like you need for almost anywhere. So, and those are not necessarily. I mean, there was communication classes at Laterno that I didn't like, but communication's good, money management's good, people management, time management, all that stuff. Those are life skills.
Yeah, and they are not taught in high school.
They're not. They're really not.
So I was gonna ask you if you think you could do a comparison between high schools in Canada versus the United States, but obviously you haven't been to both. So I guess why do you I guess do you have a sense? Do you feel like it's better in Canada or worse in Canada than the United States?
It's probably comparable.
Okay.
I don't think I think there's regions where some schools are better, some are worse. It's hard to make it a blanket statement, but I know the homeschool curriculum that I was getting from the States was ahead of the high school that I went to. Like the curriculum, the math curriculum that I did in grade 10 at high school. Grade 12 at the high school was I had already done it in grade 9 at home, so it was like way ahead in math. But
wait, you said
I don't know.
Grade?
It just depends on the curriculum.
Wow. So what you did in wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. Very interesting.
But I know even at Laterno, like there was kids, just even from the States, kids that came from different schools had different levels of education. It varies from school to school. So
No, yeah, it definitely does.
some struggled coming in saying this is really hard, and others are like this is the breeze. So it's really just depends.
Yeah. 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 Then there's those kids, who graduated came to college when they were 16, and then
4.0, 4.0 through graduate school, did doctorates. Yeah, those people.
Yeah.
I just try not to compare myself. I am just a mere average human.
Well, Derek, we definitely, thanks for taking the time to come on the podcast. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, it's been fun. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Derek.
Thanks for having me on. I'm gonna go back and listen to the rest of them. We're just
hey, that'll definitely bump up our numbers.
Gotta get past them rookie numbers.
Yeah. Hey, thanks again, Derek.